Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining our conversation tonight, Java in the Real World. My name is Kerry Williams. I'm the Communications and Information Officer here at Extension. I'm joined by my co-host, Jennifer Pittman. She's our interim marketing director. She and I are going to monitor the chat tonight. We're going to take a quick look at our agenda. As I said, with limited time, we want to be strategic with your time. So we're going to talk about what is Java, why and where is it relevant today. We're going to talk about some Java projects with our student panel. We want to try to offer some tips for your resume and your interview. And then we want to know what you want to learn next. So we'll talk a bit about the Java courses coming up at Extension, and then the floor is yours. We're going to leave it open for Q&A. So our Java speakers tonight are Bineet Sharma and Radhika Grover. They're two of our most popular, in-demand, sought-after instructors. We feel very lucky to have them with us tonight. Joining us also is our Java alumni panel, Dimple Sharma, Smitha, Nair, Ed Owen, Paul Paik, and Stephanie Lee. And then from Extension, we have myself and Jennifer. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Bineet.
Hey, thank you, Kerry. So good evening, everybody. Good to see our student panelists and other prospective students, and maybe some of you are our alumni already. So we are just talking about Java in the real world. So we want to actually make it more interactive rather than just we talk. It should be talk from you and share the ideas from our previous students also, how they benefited, how they are using it. So here it is. Most likely you already know what is Java. Java is one of the most popular languages of today. You might think 1995 is so long ago. It's like 27 years in language term. It might be like ancient, but not really. It's one of the most popular languages of today. It is very versatile, lot of areas it is being used. Think about it, it is platform independent. What does that mean is platform agnostic. It can be used in any hardware and in big server computer to tiny chip, embedded in many places. Java program can work is still working in a small place like your fridge and things like that also. Very, very good for cloud computing. And again, the reason is very, very simple. You don't care which hardware it is running on. And all these IoT devices and all that you're looking at and you're using it, Java is there because it can be put in very small place. Next slide, please. And I will hand over for this slide to our co-host, Radhika Grover, and your instructor who teaches Java, Java programming 2, which used to be called comprehensive. Some of you have taken previously.
Radhika? Thank you, Bineet. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm very happy to see some of our former students here as well who have taken Java, and they can talk more about how they used it and how they're using it currently. So Java is one of the most popular languages today, right at the top, along with C and Python. And the reason is that Java is used so widely. It's used for server-side applications, in desktop applications, mobile applications like various mobile apps are written in Java. It's one of the most popular languages. For that, it's also used in embedded systems, and there are a host of other applications for it. So there are a large number of companies that are using Java. And I've had students from many companies in the Bay Area and around the world who have been wanting to learn Java because they are either using it or they would be using it in an upcoming project. It's also projected that there is going to be an increase demand for Java developers over the next decade. So you can see a link here and you can follow that later to see more about this. If you take a look at developer listings, you'll find that there are tens of thousands of jobs for Java developers. So I think the slides will be available to you later and you can follow along. Take a look at these job listings here and see the different, how Java developers are contributing to many different types of applications in the workplace. And not only that, you can also see what the average salary is for Java developers in the Bay Area and around the country. And so there are a lot of good reasons to learn Java. And I will hand it over to our student panel so that they can talk more about how they are using Java in the workplace.
So Radhika, I just want to add some more to give a little bit of context about the real world. If some prospective students have never heard or used Java, they may wonder, where is Java fitting in? What did I do it? Even though you don't know what is Java, Java is a computer language. And then if you want to say what this language does, think about the Acrobat Reader. Acrobat Reader is written in Java. Think about Amazon. Amazon uses Java as a lot of services, what they are using it. Think you might be using Netflix. You have used Tinder or Google Earth. You go use Uber. These are all written in Java, for example, okay? And if you are a scientific person and using MATLAB is written in Java. And then it goes on and on. There are so many other things I can, in a cell phone, you use SIM card. SIM card inside is Java, okay? So think about those. All of those Blu-ray, desktop, setup boxes and all that, everything uses Java. Again, the reason is as simple.
Programming IDEs are also written in Java, like Eclipse, NetBeans.
Everything, IntelliJ, IDEA, all of them.
IntelliJ, right.
Exactly, all of them. The trading, applications like, and big data technology, if you have heard about Hadoop, Apache HBase.
Apache Spark.
All of this. And, many people ask me, Radhika, they say, hey, do I even use Java for the front-end programming? Why should I use it? Oh, guess what? If you are using Hibernate, if you are using Google Web Toolkit, if you are using struts, what is that?
Java Server Pages.
Java Server Pages, every Spring, all of those are Java based, right? So yeah, so just, so we can go on and on. Maybe it's time to bring our, student panelists also to talk about, the projects they have done. We can augment that with them. So let me point to, I saw Dimple also there somewhere. I have two of my students whom I taught, and Smitha is here. Smitha, you can talk about your experience, why you took Java, why you wanted to take it, and what are the things you learned which was valuable for you.
Sure. So I was working in a data analytics team. So I was mainly using PL SQL for programming, and it's not a object-oriented kind of language, right? So, and then I wanted to change jobs. So I started researching on interview process, and interviews are all happening in object-oriented languages. So Java was one of the main language that interviewers and interviewees preferred. And when I started looking around interview prep materials like LeetCode, most of the questions there, or all those problems there, have online resources. People have solved them. People have a lot of resources online, but they're all using Java. Most of them are using Java. So then I figured Java is the programming language that I should be going with for my interviews. And then I knew Java from college, and I've worked on couple of projects in college and all that, but I didn't have a lot of work experience in Java. So I decided to start with basics. So I started to go into classes in UCSC basics, and then comprehensive was the advanced Java program at that time. And then I took data structures and algorithms, which was specifically helpful for the interviews, coding interviews. And then I also took Java threads because that was useful for my work at that time. I was working in the analytics application. So it was, as Bineet just mentioned, all these web applications used in Java and backend. It's a very popular programming language for that. So I was a backend engineer. So I was writing APIs, services exposing data to the UI, and those APIs were written in Java. And then these backend applications need multi-threading too. So that's why I took Java threads classes as well. It was a couple of years journey with UCSC and going through the interviews, a lot of not getting through the interviews, and then finally I made it. I changed the jobs. So that was my journey with UCSC and Java courses. I took, I think, pretty much everything, every course available in Java with UCSC.
By the way, Smitha was my guinea pig for my Java thread class, because we had just introduced Java thread and I was teaching that one first time, and then she joined when it was amazing experience. So
I remember that, yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Dimple, do you want to share something? And before I hand over to Radhika, and she has other students also here.
Sure. I think a lot of examples, Smitha, you and Radhika have already shared. But to give a little background about me, I have about over 10 years of work experience working as a software engineer. I studied certificate course from UCSC a few years back. And the certificate course was mainly focused on big data and data science. In my work life, I have used many different programming languages, but Java is one programming language that I've used for so many applications. To give example of applications, I've used Java for building big data applications, for building frameworks, and also web services. In the past, monolith services were used, and they caused a lot of restrictions because changing code was not easy. And the industry moved very fast towards using microservices, and microservices are built with many applications, and it is also built with Java. One of the reasons Java is also used, preferred for microservices, because the multi-threading is very strong in Java. So that is the reason Java is a very preferred language for production level code that require very low latency. And just to highlight some courses that I took with Bineet in Java, I studied Java comprehensive course with you, with Bineet, and I also studied the data structure and algorithm course very recently, a couple of weeks back with Bineet. Yeah.
No, that's excellent. Hey, Radhika, do you want to talk to your student side?
Sure. Stephanie, I know you are working with Java at work. So can you share your experience taking the Java courses and now transitioning to this role as a software engineer working on Java projects?
Sure. So I actually started with Java first in as AP classes in high school, and then as the intro required class for my computer science major at UCSD. And then back then there was a lot of discrimination against women being in computers. And so I switched over to being a technology lawyer and doing open source work and other kind of technology product counseling for a long time. And then now I felt like the climate was, better for women to be in technology. So I thought, especially with the pandemic and everything, it was a good time to try making a transition. So I took Dr. Grover's class along with the other computer programming certification classes, and as well as every free resource that I could find online. And one of the great things about Dr. Grover's class was that in addition to being very rigorous with Java, in learning through projects and homework assignments and things, we had a final project at the end that combined the UML class that I was taking. That's one of the requirements of the computer programming certificate, along with the Java class. And so my final project out of that course was like a e-commerce database that had both the consumer side portal and business side portal, and it included like UML diagrams and sequence diagrams and the model view controller, and so it like was really able to show off a lot to employers, which was really cool. And then and so like not just Java, but like overall like understanding of like architectural knowledge and everything. And so that combined with some other projects that I worked on, and I was able to get a job at Walmart Global Tech, and there I am working on Java and along with some Java tools and frameworks, Maven and Spring Boot, to basically, you know, make Walmart function. There's I can't go into the details of what I'm doing, but basically Walmart's backend is a lot of Java. And it is, I think that's true for a lot of like established companies, because Java's been around for such a long time and they're, you know, not going to redo their code base in Python or something.
Yes,
oh, cool.
So Stephanie, we're so excited that you're working on you know, doing Java at work and doing some exciting, creating exciting applications. So congratulations. You pointed out something very important, and that is that the coursework is very rigorous, right? And that is really important. I think we will come back and talk about that more later in the Java specialization, and how we have these 3 courses, Java 1, Java 2, the data structures course, and they're really intensive. So we'll come back and talk about that later. But that's a very important part of the curriculum here at the extension. So I have 2 other students here. Ed, you know, you were using Java at your previous work.
Sure, yeah, I bring a little bit of a different perspective to this. I'm not a software engineer, and I never have been. I'm currently working as a technical program manager at an internet security company, but when I took the course with Dr. Grover, I was working as an engineering manager at Salesforce, which like very similar to what Stephanie described. The back end at Salesforce has been Java forever. So, you know, very important for that large and growing and innovative company. So I've always taken these classes as a way to, you know, further my knowledge, but particularly managing a team of engineers working in Java. You know, I felt it was important for me to, you know, understand what they were working with. So I took the comprehensive course, I think it was called then, and very similar experience with Stephanie. You know, I was taking, I think, that same UML class or same object-oriented class, and so I got to use all of those skills in designing. I wrote a GUI application to help. There was an auto integration test that our technical writers had to work with, and it was very tricky and complicated to work with our version control system and our ticketing system. So I wrote a little Java GUI tool that kind of helped smooth out some of that process. So it was a lot of fun doing that, you know, working with our internal Salesforce instance that the company used to do our daily business, and integrating that with the version control system and all of that. And it was a lot of fun. You know, I presented it to the UCSC extension class as well, but I also presented it to my engineering team at work, and it was a lot of fun to see their eyes kind of light up that, oh, my manager actually understands some of these things, and, you know, what a model view controller is and things like that. So that's just a quick summary of my experience. You know, Java is everywhere. It's also at my current job. We provide a cloud-based internet security platform, and there are pieces of it. Our Druid logging engine is Java-based. So it's definitely part of even the most, you know, it's a startup essentially. Even the youngest companies are still using Java in some form.
Thank you for sharing that, Ed. Just so good to see how Java is used in different ways and in different companies. Paul, would you like to talk about the project that you were working on, or and share some other insights that you have about how Java is being used at your company?
Sure. So nice to meet y'all. I'm Paul, and briefly introduce myself. I'm currently in my 9th year in the industry, but my background is in semiconductor process engineering. So technically speaking, I just switched to a software role recently, fortunately. 4 months ago, so I'm just a rookie right now. So there's not much technically sophisticated topics I can cover. But based on my experience at work, we actually have to deal with a lot of data running on the back end and the background in order to incorporate all the intensive manufacturing data for analysis. So all those kind of systems are written in Java. We also have an IoT department internally that also deals with gathering these information, sending out signals from all the sensors in the factory. Those are all based on Java. I actually don't directly work with on the Java platform, but I actually started taking courses in UCSC extension to just learn more about what object-oriented programming is, get a little bit familiar to that so that I could gain some more background knowledge on the area, just expand my knowledge and my capabilities to study on my own, So overall, I think the good part of this extension courses is that it's extremely hands-on oriented. That's you're going to have a lot of projects to work on. And I worked on a GUI. It was the first time I ever created a GUI before using Java for the first time. I still remember struggling through the errors and compilation issues. All the time I try to do something and, struggling through the processes was very valuable for me to learn how the system works and how object-oriented program works. Although I cannot say that I'm an expert, it was really a valuable opportunity for me to learn hands-on. So I would really recommend to somebody who really wants to have a crash course on how Java is written and how it's operating.
Perfect. Very good. So anybody else wants to, summarize, in the sense that we have to go to the next slide and bring our other students. Anybody wants to, jump in and summarize what are the skills which really was, you think, very valuable either to change your career or to use in your current, or during the interview or anything. Anybody wants to pick on that?
I can talk about interview experience because I went through that last year, a lot of interviews. As I said, I was thinking between Java or Python for interviews, which one to use. But what I found is that Java has a lot of very rich libraries and then library functions that you can, basically when it comes to interviews, you have 15 minutes to solve a coding problem, right? It's a really hard problems usually. So you need that rich library rather than thinking about how to implement a particular piece of logic. You'd have already figured out the algorithm, but you need to write it down, the code, and then you need to walk through a test case and show the interviewer that you can actually run this code and get the expected result. So that's when I realized, okay, Java is the programming. That was one of the main reasons I decided on Java too. The rich libraries available, a lot of out of the box features that you can use in interviews, and the online resources, a lot of resources available online for free. So that really helped. And that was those were the deciding factors on the programming language, which one to go.
That's perfect. That's true. Java, not only Java, what you said is in the library, but the support system is also amazing. So many people, so many communities are out there. And if you Google it, in the web, there are so many tools available for you to learn and get experience with.
So Java is important, as you just mentioned. Java is important for the interviewee who is preparing for interviews. It's also important for employers, right? That people who are coming in have the right skill set in Java. And at the extension, you can see we have this Java specialization that Bineet will talk more about. There's a lot of time devoted to different parts of Java. Right, and there's rigorous coursework in each of these that includes exams, projects, discussions, and that really helps to prepare students for the workplace better. And high quality coursework translates to high quality products in the workplace. And that is really important for employers as well.
Yeah, let me add to that too, because when I was going through these interviews, I also found that most of my interviewers were Java experts. So it always helps when both the parties speak the same language in interviews. So that was, as Radhika just mentioned, the companies, many of those companies are using Java. So that's the reason most of the interviewers were comfortable in Java too.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Two things, apart from, certificate in programming, now we have something called specialization. So if you have taken this, there is another badge, you can put it in your resume and all that. So that is another good thing to do it, and make sure that you put in your LinkedIn. Anyway, I think we should bring in rest of the prospective students. If you have any questions.
Can we also talk a little bit about the Java 1 and the Java 2 and the data structures courses?
This used to be Java programming, Java beginners. That's what it used to be called. Java programming for beginners. Now it is Java programming 1. So there it is a ramp up. What happens is it comes, without any prerequisites kind of thing, but you need to have some aptitude to learn and have at least a way of handling how a computer to download and all those kind of things, and be able to use some kind of some tools we give it. But it really ramps and then gives you introduction very fast, and you are able to write codes and all that. Then it prepares you to take the advanced class. So that's next slide, which is Java Comprehensive, which we teach together. I teach the on-site version and flex version. That means synchronous online class, while this one is Radhika teaches asynchronous class. So Radhika, can you want to talk about this?
Sure.
Yeah.
So here we cover many of the advanced concepts like generics, multi-threaded programming, etc. Students will learn how to use Java class libraries. And they also implement an application. So this is very project oriented. And the important part of doing a project is that it is helping to prepare students for the workplace where they will be working on projects. It also helps to add more value to the resume. And as the instructor, I'm available to provide feedback on design and good coding practices, help students define their projects, and also assist them with correcting problems. So there is a lot of guidance and input that is provided for students who are taking the class. And that is also very helpful for students to understand good design and coding practices. So both Bineet and I have been using Java. Well, we have extensive experience using Java in both academia and on industry-related projects. So we are happy to be able to work with students and help them to gain proficiency in the language.
So there is a data structures. Again, one thing I do want to emphasize in here is when you go for interview, 70% of the questions come from data structures and algorithm. So make sure you are very conversant with the algorithm and be able to answer that. And Java is a great language, as Smitha was sharing it, to hone into that skills. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Other Java class we have is Java threads. It is, the date is not set. You can see that this next class is coming in, is written in here. In Java threads, Dimple was sharing with us, and thank you, Dimple, for coming and sharing it. I know you have to go. I just wanted to emphasize. Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize Java threads. What happens is, as Smitha was saying, a lot of back end is all about Java thread. Java threading in Java is much simpler to do than other languages. Other languages also do it, but Java is just like it is inherently object-oriented. It is inherently thread. Most of the threading is done in Java API, not dependent upon the operating system's thread, which really ultimately operating system works. But because it is in the library level, it is much easier, simpler to do it using Java thread. So that's something you need to hone in if you really want to do big data type of work. So next slide.
And very important to parallelize applications, right? That is a very important application.
Yeah.
Today, parallelizing your applications.
Exactly, concurrency.
Yes.
So there was a question. Let me answer that question in here. So how does the Java specialization prepare you for workplace? Do you have a portfolio piece when you finish this? We don't have a portfolio to show that, okay, you need to finish this. But as Radhika was saying, our classes are already project based. So that can be part of your portfolio. You can make it, okay? And how does that help you is think about what happens why we do specialization is you are focusing in one language. And one thing what Smitha was saying during the interview process, think of this, is you don't want to be, if you are new, you don't want to know many languages, not necessarily. What you want to do is just focus on one language, learn everything on that language. So when you go and give that interview, then good companies always ask you, what is your best language? Which one you want to use? So that time you should be able to say, hey, Java is my language. That's what I want to implement. Okay. So the specialization, when you are focusing on one language, start to finish. You are doing Java programming 1, 2, threads, data structures, things like that. If you focus on that, you should be able to talk all through. That is the idea, and that's how it helps.
And just as someone who's hired engineers, very rarely are you looking for, oh, I just need a general programmer. You typically I have a Java opening, right? And so that's why it's important to, if you have that specialization, you would definitely stand out.
Exactly. And the follow-up question for Grace was, I've done Java programming 1 before a few years ago. Should I retake again? I would not recommend that, Grace. Come and take Java programming 2, because Radhika also does the overview, and I also do a little bit of overview. Once you have taken, I say you graduated Java programming 1. You should not think of going back. Okay, so you should be just fine.
But you should consider taking the advanced courses that you have not done previously, like the data structures course or the Java threads course.
Yeah, you're right, Stephanie. The final project is your portfolio. You can call it in Java. Enterprise Java, microservices. Somebody has a question where, again, Grace, where can we find information about the developing enterprise Java, microservices, Spring Boot, and Spring Cloud?
Put that link in there. I think we're good.
Okay, good. Thank you.
How long does a specialization take? A year? 2 years?
Less. No, it's only 3 courses. So
it really depends on you. Suppose, only few of them are, not few of them, say you have to take Java. We do not force you as a prerequisite, but it's a good idea to take programming 1, then 2, then the Java thread. Then the data structures, okay? And if you want to take thread, can be taken parallel. So 2 of them can take in together, data structures and the thread you can take together, but 1 and 2 has to be serially done. Since you have already taken 1, you can take 2, and in two quarters, you should be able to finish if the classes are offered, okay?
Yeah, the estimated duration is 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, yes. And again, if time doesn't suit, you can take a synchronous class or synchronous class based on whatever is your time frame. Radhika, is your synchronous is there? It has to be 13 weeks, or students can finish early?
It is dependent on student schedule. The class has a fixed start and end date, but if they choose to finish it before the end date, that is really up to the students. Most of the time, those students take the entire time to complete the course.
Okay. Just to let everybody know, Java Programming 1, I have an asynchronous class also. It's 13 weeks, but many students take it to go to CMU for their master's program, okay? As a prerequisite, it is, CMU has identified that class as a prerequisite. And I have seen students finishing in 5 weeks, because they are crunching time. They finish their work so fast, and I need to be on my toes to grade their work and give them feedback. So they graduate. So asynchronous class, you can even finish faster. Grace, the answer is, if you are taking asynchronous and you want to finish fast, you can do it. And say if you are taking Java, Programming 2 with Radhika, you can ask her, hey, Radhika, can you please give me the feedback so that I can move on? Okay, you can always do that. All right, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, just a big thank you to our instructors, our student panelists. We really appreciate your time. And again, if you think of any questions, you can always email us at extension@ucsc.edu.
Thank you so much. It was great having students here and great to have people with good questions.
Thank you, our student panelists. I really appreciate you guys coming in with a short notice and then sharing your story.
And I did that. Thank you to the student panelists for coming in and sharing their experience.
Thank you.
That was very, very helpful for you guys to give us your feedback.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you all. Good night.
Bye.
Very nicely executed.
Good night. See
Have a
you,
good
Stephanie.
night.
Bye, Paul.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Great job, Bineet.